How? Welcome, guys. I'd like to introduce you today to my mate Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hi there.
Hi, this is Steve. I met Steve when I come to Blackpool. I know some really close, really dear friends that I've come to friends with through doing this stuff, who are classed as friends, who Steve has been pivotal in their recovery and helped them. So I've met Steve a couple of times. First met him when I was in a treatment centre. He was doing service, and I got to know him there. And I've since met him in real life, and he's a really interesting guy. So I just want to start with just introduce yourself a little bit, Steve, and tell them what you're about.
Yeah, my name's Steve. I am an alcoholic and an addict, and I've been in recovery, or recovered now, for 10 years. And when I say recovered, I've recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. But I still have the spiritual malady, which I only overcome on a daily basis.
Yeah, again, and I totally identify with that. So I'm just going to get I'd like a bit of backstory. So like, there's a few questions that I'd like to throw out that I've kind of been deviating from, but I think I'd like to hear your take on them. So do you believe in God or a higher power?
Yes.
Simple answer. No. Would you? Yeah, okay, I'll have that. And was you born, or do you think something developed to turn you into an addict?
Born.
Born, yeah.
I had before I even picked up a drink, I had all the traits.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I'm born in Blackpool. I was in the arcades every day by the time I was 10. I was spending my bus fare home and having to beg to get home on the bus at night, 10 o'clock at night, when the arcades shut, and that was at 10, 11 years old. So I was already into gambling.
Yeah.
Then. The only reason I'm not in a different fellowship is that I never had enough money left after the drink and the drugs to put a bet on, or else I'd probably been in GA.
Yeah, I identify with that because my first, so I've got like every addiction under the sun. Well, I class myself of varying degrees, but the first time I think it was the second time I ever put a bet on, it was to Liverpool and my team to win by 3 or 4 goals, and we got beat 1-0, so I lost money and we defeated, and I'm so glad, I'm grateful for that day. So that's one thing that I'm grateful for. Okay, so let's get into it. So what you said, you're 10 years clean. Can you tell us what brought you into recovery?
I'd come out of a treatment centre, out of a rehab after 6 months, and within a week I was using again. And it got to a point where I knew that if I had one more drink I was going to die. And I reached the internal rock bottom. You'll hear a lot about rock bottom. They say everyone's rock bottom is different. The external rock bottoms may be different, but if we all have a common problem, we all have to hit a common rock bottom. It's the internal rock bottom. That way we can access the common solution. So for me, it was a Friday night, 14th of September, 2 days after my 51st birthday, and I hit that internal rock bottom. I couldn't go any lower. I had hit real rock, and I knew I was screwed, and I prayed. I didn't know who or what I prayed to. I just prayed for help. I got to a meeting that night and help was offered. Yeah. God working through someone else.
Yeah.
And by his grace, 12-step fellowships, I have not had the obsession to drink or use for 10 years. It was taken away that night without me even realising it, until things happened and I didn't have the need to have a drink to cope. I could cope.
Yeah, amazing. Similar experience to me, but it seems like I can say the profoundness and like the final time. So have you I know the answer to this, but I'd like to divulge more. Like, have you struggled with anything else with your addiction? Has it spiraled and coming through any other forms?
Addiction parks its arse in all the areas of Asda. Addiction is like an Asda car park. It will park anywhere it can. It'll even use the disabled bays. It doesn't care. It can be anything. For me, biggest one is cakes. Morrison's cream cakes. God, all my behaviours as an addict can come out. I can justify, minimise, manipulate to go and get a cream cake. Not only can I do, have done, and probably will do again. But do I find it objectionable? No. And also, is it really that bad so long as it's not replacing God as my higher power? So long as I can enjoy it and I'm not getting harm from it and it's not replacing God as a higher power in my life, then it's okay. When it starts getting to that point, then it'll have to be addressed. I'm also a skin picker. So I like picking skin. I don't know why I do it, but there is a 12-step fellowship for that. And that's what I'm thinking of looking at.
Yeah, wow, yeah. I've never heard of that. That's amazing. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. So if that addiction of cream cakes, as an example, was the only issues I can think of is if it was costing too much, you were spending money you didn't have, if it was affecting your health. Is that kind of how you look at that need?
Yes. Yes. If it's affecting my health, affecting the health of my family, am I damaging myself? If I'm eating too many, yeah, because I could get a heart attack through eating too much. I've got a young family, got 2 young children under 10, 1 9, 1 5. That I've had in recovery. Another miracle of doing this sort of stuff, doing the recovery on a daily basis. But no, it's when it gets too much of a problem. If it gets too much of a problem, then it'll get addressed. Yeah. And it'll be the same solution as it was for the drugs and alcohol, because it's all the first step problem. What am I powerless over? Then again, what you've got to ask, what makes me powerless? Power, choice and control.
Yeah.
If I've got a choice to do it or not, then I have power. Therefore, if I've got power, I can control it. But with drugs and alcohol, if I've got no power, then I don't have a choice I am going to use. And if I'm going to use, then I don't know how or when I'm going to control it. So if I don't have choice or control, then I'm powerless. If I have either of those, if I wake up in the morning and think, I can choose to drink today or not, I'm screwed. Because my experience shows me that I have no choice. Even today, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I have no choice but to do a 12-step program, or I will have no choice but to go and do what I already don't want to do, which is use, which will kill me.
Yeah.
We were talking before about middle of the road solutions, and for me, anything other than a deep and effective spiritual experience through the 12 steps is a middle of the road solution. Middle of the road solutions have never worked. Going to rehab didn't work. Reading inspirational books never worked. Trying different things never worked. Just using this, just using that, only trying one thing. No, that never worked. Doing more exercise, joining football clubs, going to the gym on a daily basis. They're all middle of the road solutions, what I call third alternatives. Because we're given but 2 choices. To die an alcoholic or drug addict death, or to live by spiritual principles. Anything else is a third alternative, and that can be relationships, that can be Amazon shopping, it can be shoes, it can be clothes, it can be cars, it can be anything. That I say, this disease will park its arse anywhere it can. Yeah. Because it wants to separate me from the power. Yeah. And then it becomes a higher power. My partner can't keep me clean. She cannot. I cannot stay clean for her. God keeps me clean. She doesn't, because she's human, no human power.
Yeah.
I can't rely on her, she can't rely on me.
Yeah.
We're relying on each other, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And God help our kids. And they won't keep us clean.
Yeah, I certainly identify with that. So, like, can you say, because I do get the spiritual side of you, I see the people you help, they're exactly the same, like a chip off the old block. For me, this self-will and God's will is a constant battle on a daily basis. What was your experience? Because obviously you've had, I only class it as profound. Was it a coming to believe? Was it a profound experience?
Step one, showing me how powerless I was, surrendered me to the fact I needed to find a power greater than me. And it certainly wasn't human. And when I came to believe, and that's all I had to do, willingness to believe. I didn't have to believe, a willingness to believe in this power. And even I can say to agnostics, and I have done, so do you believe there is something in this universe greater than you? And they say, yeah. I said, well, there's a higher power that has more power than you.
Yeah.
Anything that isn't reliant on human power is more power than you.
Yeah.
And that's why just going to meetings will never keep me clean. Just reading the book will never keep me clean. Whichever book it is you're reading, they will not keep me clean. Might give me better philosophy of life, but even that philosophy of life won't keep me clean. Just willing will not keep me clean. I have to be willing to believe in a power greater than me. And that surrenders me to the fact that I stand at a turning point. And I've got to look in the mirror. And in this mirror, there's me, finite self. And looking at my experience, do I want to keep looking at finite self? Because where has finite self got me? In this seat.
Yeah.
So I turn away and I throw myself with complete abandon into this higher power, into God, as I choose to call him today.
Yeah. I should imagine from what I know along this 10-year journey, there must have been testing moments. Can you explain one of them to us and how you...
Yeah, on the day my son was born. 4 hours before that, my sister died. The yin and yang of life. God takes a life to give a life. And I didn't know whether I should be happy, whether I should be sad, whether... I really didn't know. For about an hour, my head were up my ass. So I did what the programme told me. I was a year in at the time. I did what the programme suggested I do. I pray to this higher power. So I did. I prayed. Then I spoke with my sponsor at the time. And I went to a meeting that night and shared what the day had been like. And I was able to be there for my family. I was able to be a son. I was able to be a brother to my other brother and sister. I was able to be there for my partner. I was able to be there for my newborn son. And it wasn't until a few weeks later I realised that in all that time I hadn't once thought about picking up. It had been removed. The selfish, self-centred, at that point, had been removed. Well, it had been not removed because my self-centeredness never gets totally removed. That's something I do not recover from.
Yeah.
It gets reduced, but not by me. It's reduced by God, the self-centeredness. But I was able to be there for the family. Because if it had been a year before, it had been all about me. I'd have been going round to them saying, poor me, poor me.
Yeah.
My sister's died, my son's just been born. I'd be round at the dealers laying it on with a trowel.
Yeah.
But no, didn't need to.
Amazing, shining example. And so you just got me thinking. You just mentioned there about your sponsor. What was your first experience like with the sponsor? Have you stayed with the same sponsor?
No.
Throughout your time?
Within the first 3 months, I had 3 sponsors.
Wow.
My first one when I came out of treatment, he wasn't a bad sponsor. I were a shit sponsee. I met him for coffee. Coffee no step work is just bullshit. And that's what I used within a week. And now to do with him, There's no bad sponsees, no bad sponsors.
Yeah.
It's a sponsee.
Yeah.
Sponsor's not going to keep me clean.
Yeah.
I'm not here to do that. I sponsor today, and I tell people I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to run your life. Don't rely on me to keep you clean, or you're screwed, kid.
Yeah.
My second one, we got up to step 4, and he went out and used.
Wow.
So I met a guy, I heard him, I phoned him, and he didn't live in Blackpool, he lived up in Blackburn area, and he said, I can see you in a couple of weeks. I says, I'll come up and see you. Willing to go to any lengths. I was with him for quite a few years, and in the past couple of years I've got, I don't call him a sponsor, he's a step guide. He guided me through the steps, and he's in New Jersey, in America.
Wow. Amazing.
So,
amazing. I've heard that step guide a few times recently. Yeah, I like that. What's wrong with that? Yeah. So another testing thing is like I was the pain when I come into recovery. My kids were not with me, and the pain of that was taking me out the room. But what blows my mind with people, and you're an example of this, who get to the family and recovery. I have my kids for the weekend, and it kind of like tests me. You know what I mean? But to have them full time, have them born in recovery, remain clean, so work a program alongside being a devoted father. Can you just explain what that's like?
remembering that they're God's children. They're on loan from God. How would my God want me to treat them? How would I want God to treat me? Then I've got to try and learn to treat my kids like that. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, they test my patients. One's got ADHD and the other's got chromosome disorder. So one's in a special school and the other one's got ADHD. So yeah, they can be off the wall.
Yeah.
And can man me up at 3 o'clock in the morning some days. But you know what? The children of God. And I have to try and remember that when I'm wanting to strangle them. I always say I love my kids to bits. I don't fucking like them at times. Sorry for the language. But then again, they love me and they don't like me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be liked at times. I'm here to guide them. I used to try and control them. And 8 years in, when I was trying to control my eldest, the one with ADHD, it was creating problems in the family because I was playing God with his life. I was expecting him to be what he wasn't. And it took me some dark places. 8 years clean and sober, wanting to kill myself. And it happens because I'd moved away from the program. I'd been using third alternatives. I'd been sponsoring a lot, doing meetings, running meetings, but I hadn't been making that connection back to God. This is why I needed to go through the program with this guy in America. And I had an experience. I'd been living off a cold buffet that I'd had many years ago. Can't live off cold food. Got to have fresh food. You can't have stale food, and that's that's what I was having. Stale food was my program.
Yeah.
So I needed to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, newly opened, and try the menu. Wow, what a menu it's been as well in these past 2 years.
Amazing, amazing. So just thinking off the top of my head, I've loved this. So I've done a chapter this morning. I'm in treatment at the minute, and there was a question on I had to describe a form of denial that had been smashed in me and go through it. Have you got a story for us regarding that? And it can be in any department. I was stretching my brain this morning. One's around women, one's around I was a good father, and writing about them was quite tough.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I was like you this morning. So I was sat in this spot at 6 this morning.
Oh, denial and delusion.
Yeah.
Denial. Yeah. Well, I've been in denial. when I've not got my licence because the police have taken it off me, there's a form of denial in that, because I can say to someone, oh, I've lost my licence. I'm in denial. I know the truth. I haven't lost my licence. It's been fucking taken off me for drunk driving or something. Or drug driving. But I'll say I've lost my licence. So I'm in denial around that.
Yeah, I was just I'm trying to think of some questions that I would like to know the answer to, like your take on them. So balancing the work-life recovery balance must be tough. Can you tell us, like, not tough?
No.
Excellent. Well, I like that. Can you explain to me so I can try and get some
weekends and nights are for the kids.
Yeah.
Don't sponsor, except if someone's working every day. During the day, I will take an hour and sponsor, and so will my partner. And maybe once during the week, from 6 till 7, we'll sponsor, but the rest of the time is for our kids. We do a book study. We sponsor and maybe do one other meeting a week online. But I want to be present there for my kids. And I can be today. I can be part of their life. The relationship I have through this today is brilliant. It tells me I'm informed. It says a greater expression of these principles lies in our respective homes, occupations and affairs. No, it says homes first. I've got to practice what I preach here and in a meeting. I have to practice that at home. I used to say, do I treat the newcomer like I treat my family? And my step guy says, nah. Do you treat the family like you treat the newcomer? Because if sometimes the way I can treat my family, if I treat the newcomer like that, they tell me to fuck off. So I've got to show these principles at home. And I say, if you want to know what I'm like at home, don't ask me, because I'll bullshit you. I'll tell you what I think. See, there's a form of denial and delusion. Go and ask them. Go and ask my kids. Because they'll give you the truth. Ask the wife, she'll tell you. And she has done. She has told people. He's an arseholic at times.
That's right. I've seen a snippet of your home life on that platform. I'll say that it was on, and it was comical. But this is when I didn't know you, by the way. But you were trying to, you were being of service, and you were doing what you're doing now, speaking so eloquently, and I was seeing your lad giving you the tough time, didn't care about the camera. That was it. It was comical. That made my day. That actually I was in a treatment centre. I was struggling that day. But I was thinking.
I always like to say, well, when I'm doing something like that, if the kids are going to come in, I'm usually using their room. It's their room. They're allowed to come in.
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, sorry, screw you.
Yeah.
This is real life.
Yeah.
And more often than not, people say, it's really good to see how you are. Because I don't think I could do that. Well, it's not a question of, I don't think you could. The question is, do you?
Yeah.
And it's remembering that without me doing this, I wouldn't have them. But without them, I wouldn't keep doing this.
Yeah.
There's a payoff.
Yeah.
And remembering that God's kids, when I was having all the trouble with my son, I was given a great piece of advice to ask God to enable me to meet my son where he's at, not where I want him to be.
Yeah.
Because he's 8 and I'm wanting him to be 18. No, I've got to meet him at 8.
Yeah.
Not where I think he should be. Because it's about him, not about me. That's me controlling.
Yeah.
And all control is an illusion. And what is an illusion? Something that's not real. It's a lie.
I like that.
And what is a delusion? A lie that I believe.
Yeah. I like that. So I've got 2 more questions. Which one should we go with first? So I understand. So I've got a snippet of your family life. I've got a snippet of you. I see your recovery. I see that in action. Well, what does Steve like to do in his spare time other than eating cakes? So something that you do for yourself, because that's something I do quite a bit of it in varying guises, but finding my middle of the road.
One of them ain't exercise. Now, let me tell you that. I enjoy reading. I play a lot of Scrabble on my phone. Play a bit of Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Crap, but I'll play it. I enjoy it. It gives me that bit of time away reading.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching my son BMXing. You know, I get great pleasure from that. But I'm not trying to push him. I'm not getting angry if he's don't want to do it or he's not having a good day doing it. I just want him to enjoy whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
I get pleasure from that. I get pleasure from being with my family. Going to zoos. Wow. Never been to zoos before in my life. Well, I had, but when I was a child.
Yeah.
Been to so many zoos now, it's untrue.
Wow, amazing.
About 30 zoos, I think.
Amazing. And this is the one that so do you meditate, and what's your experience around it, and what would you say to someone, because I struggle, to a newcomer attempting to meditate?
Meditation. The word meditation is different today to how it was when it was first talked about in step 11. When it was first talked about, it was more about contemplating what God's will for me is, rather than sitting there cross-legged going for an hour. I mean, we can meditate with God all day. When we're out walking, we can talk to God. Talk to God anytime. And meditation is just listening. Go to God with a problem. Ask him for a solution. And I just sit back and take it easy. But I prefer to call it contemplation.
Yeah.
Prayer and contemplation rather than meditation. In the context of, I can contemplate the day ahead. Then, knowing that the thing I'm trying to do is going with God's will. You asked before, what's the difference between God's will and self-will? How do I know what God's will is? Well, is God's will for you to go out and get smashed? With your experience, would God want you to do that?
Not at all.
No. So, self-will is to go out and get smashed. God's will is don't.
Yeah. And what it takes to do that is a middle of the road solution. So.
No middle of the road solution.
No third alternative to that. I'm trying to think the third alternative to the middle of the road solution.
No, there's a
Go on, dive
middle of the road solution is the third alternative.
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't involve a deep and effective spiritual experience is a third alternative.
Yeah, I see you now.
Yeah. It says to live by to die an alcoholic death or live by spiritual principles are not always easy alternatives.
Yeah.
So there's the two alternatives we're given.
Yeah.
Two alternatives to go on to an alcoholic death or live by spiritual principles. Third alternative that doesn't involve any of them two.
Yeah.
Because if you've got two alternatives and you're looking for a third.
Yeah. I'm on you. Yeah. Okay, Steve. So what it is? So thanks a lot for that. I appreciate that, Steve. And
I hope someone gets something from it.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will. I me personally loved it. One thing that I was kind of do with someone you know quite well without breaking any anonymity. They send me videos of how they're doing on a daily basis. Would you be up for doing something like that on a topic of your choice? Just some form of regularity.
No, it won't be daily.
Yeah, sound a weekly would be great for me. Just give us a snippet of your recovery and what makes you tick.
What makes me tick?
Yeah.
My heart.
No, hang on, I'm going to stop that.